we're back from a long break. We've got some spring updates, some spring battles, quarterbacks, offensive line, and some linebacker stories. Defensive line is stacked, and the wide receiver room is looking pretty good. This is Believe in Georgia Dogs. All right, welcome in, man. We're finally back. Israel was on spring break. It is the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network, presented by Betonline.ag and the Row One brand. Get your free smart watches, art watches, vintage art watches. So, had a little Masters drama. I guess you could call it drama, but we had a big week last week. So Israel, man, what's up, dude? It feels like it's been a while, but it really hasn't.
Yeah, man. Well, it was a good week. We were on spring break last week. Got my first Thunder chicken last Sunday, which was nice. We never really hunted turkeys on our property. Very much so, it's kind of, climactic of how it happened. So kind of walked up on him while he was chasing two hens. Very theatrical, if you'll say the least. But it was a good week. Kind of caught up on some rest and, tried to look at everything that was going on with spring, watch some of, Coach Smart's interviews and things like that. And I'll tell you what, man, it's coming fast. And, if anybody's worried about the QB position, I think it's about to be solidified real soon.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think in our last episode, which did tremendously well, thanks for watching, I think you're going to see that. But before we really dive into all of that, we are presented by Betonline.ag. Continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting needs. The basketball season is still upon us. This time it's not college basketball, but it is the NBA playoffs. They're right around the corner. So you can get your latest odds, contests, team matchups, and game trends at BetOnline. You can also bet on the NHL, MLB. Braves are off to a pretty hot start, although they dropped the series this past week to the Padres. So I guess they came back down to earth. But BetOnline is your NBA headquarters this season. So head to the website today or use your mobile device, sign up, receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your welcome bonus. That's BLEAV. BetOnline.ag. It's where the game starts. So, yeah, you just mentioned that, well, congrats on killing your first Thunder chicken. And if we ever start a minor league team and we want to play in the same league as the Carolina Disco Turkeys and which is a peacock, and the Savannah Bananas, we could start a team called, I guess we could call it the Valdosta Thunder Chickens.
Absolutely, man. I got some players willing and ready to participate in this, by the way, also known as my students, because they pretty much, do the same thing.
Yes, exactly. So we'll write that one down. We'll write that idea down. Okay. All right. Valdosta Thunder Chickens. Copyright it right now. Yeah. If anybody uses it, I'm coming after you. So we talked about quarterbacks, right? Quarterback play. We got a lot to catch up on because there's a lot that's happened over this spring practice. Like I said, in the cold open, we have some position battles. We have some guys that are trying to get comfortable at some positions. We've got some position groups, especially in defense, that are really solidifying and becoming loaded. But let's start with the main event here. Obviously, we'll start with the main course, the quarterbacks. Love Gunnar Stockton. We raved about his game, what he brings to the table, but honestly, it is just not his time yet. This thing is shaking out what looks like to be a two-man race, which may soon to be Carson Beck's show.
One-man race.
Yeah, maybe a one-man race. And so And with Dylan Raiola maybe being a silent commit, I've also heard that, rumblings of that. This could get real interesting in the upcoming years as far as quarterback battles go. But this one right now, Carson is he's just comfortable, man. He's just got command. You know, the thing he had to work on the most coming into this battle was being able to respond to adversity. It just seems like when something went wrong, he would just spiral. And he seems to have gotten better at that. He's made some mistakes. You know, obviously all of these guys are going to make mistakes. So when you can bounce back from them and get the other guys to believe, that's really kind of what Coach Smart's looking for.
Absolutely. We're very high on Gunnar Stockton. I know I was just from watching him play firsthand. But, one thing that Coach Smart and the crew has done this year, they're having split practices, split practice within a practice. So what that means is that your veteran players, like, your sophomores through seniors and things like that, they're one practice, while the new guys and, I guess the redshirt guys and all those guys are in another practice within the same practice, so they can get caught up to speed, things like that. So there's no really learning curve in between it. You're throwing the fire, to begin with. So, Gunnar's he's on the backside right now, trying to learn terminology and things like that, because he was on the scout team last year, so, not saying that he can't, jump up that depth chart, by the time fall hits, but right now he's behind the 8 ball. So, it's out of Carson and Brock. And right now I think Carson definitely has the leg up. He's been in this system for a while now. With Mucking, and obviously, with Coach Bobo coming in, some things have changed, but not a whole lot's changed. So Carson definitely has the leg up. But Brock has shown that he's ready to compete, and he's willing to compete. He's gotten taller, he's gotten bigger. I noticed that when I was up there as well. So I think after G-Day, I think it'll be solidified. And right now, I think Carson definitely has the keys to the Mercedes, and I think he's going to ride this thing on out.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see him put on a show, to be honest with you, and I think he's going to be comfortable. You're going to see some throws that you're just like scratch your head, going, "Where's that been? Like, what? Where did that come from?" It's like, and with Brock, I think you're going to see him move the pocket a little bit. I think you're going to see some pretty good stuff from him, and I think you're going to see some good stuff from all three of them. So from the fans' perspective, it's going to look like a really, really tough decision, because they're all three going to make some really good plays, and they all three will probably make some mistakes given the fact that they're playing one of the best defenses in the country, but and a pretty dadgum good 2s and 3s unit too, comparatively with the rest of the country as well. So naturally, the defense is going to get them a few times. That's okay. It's how do they bounce back? How do they respond? What special plays can they bring to the table? What are some things that off schedule they can do? Breaking the pocket, things like that. Run game, where however much you can diagnose and evaluate run game without being live on the quarterback. That might be kind of tough to do. That's also where Gunnar might be at a disadvantage, because not really live on him, so they can't really see what he can do running ability wise and being a part of the run game and being a part of the quarterback run game. So you don't really know, but right now, just listening to the practice reports and things like that, and just listening to, you got it with Kirby, you can kind of tell what he's saying. If you really listen, if you really kind of read between the lines, you can tell what he's saying. And he's saying right now, he's hinting that Carson is not only the guy, but like, the gap is widening, seems like. Yes.
And, I was reading an article today. He was talking about boneheaded plays, and, apparently the last scrimmage was predominantly throwing. A lot of pass game type things. And Carson apparently looked the best out of all of them. And especially in a controlled environment, which is what which spring practice is, you have to give your script to the defense. So they pretty much, kind of what you're going to do and things like that. But in spring game, it's free for all. None of that stuff scripted. You have to give your script to the defense and say, here you go. It's basically played like a real game. So think it's going to be fun to see, once they get into an element of, hey, defense don't know what we're doing. Let's see what we can do. Let's put our guys in a situation to where we can win. Let's see what these quarterbacks can do. I think you're going to see, that gap kind of open up a little bit more. You can see who's going to be QB1s and going into the next year.
Yeah, who can manipulate a defense? And if you can manipulate the defense when the defense knows what's coming, that's a special thing. That is a special trait. So that being
able to, it was good to watch all three of them. I mean, Gunner, Brock, and Carson. I mean, they have command of the offense. And like I said, with the terminology changing just a tad, and Coach Bubba putting his wrinkles in, it definitely helps not revamping the whole entire offense. It's not like you're getting a whole new coordinator that's going to come in.
Because you'd be getting a whole new quarterback and not guys that have been seasoned within the system.
Exactly.
Which I think also helps. And that was a big part of, and I know everybody was freaking out about Mike Bobo being elevated. They thought it was just a retread and all that stuff, but keeping terminology similar.
I said earlier, after seeing Georgia practice and what Kirby Smart is doing and what that staff is doing, my trust goes into that staff. My trust goes into Kirby Smart and his decisions, because obviously you can't win 2 national championships if you don't know what you're doing. It's real simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to luck into one, much less back-to-back. And being the favorite to three-peat. Yeah, and being the favorite to three-peat. Like, that's not luck anymore.
No. We're supposed to be here.
Yeah, we're here. We're supposed to be here, and we're taking advantage of the opportunities that we get. Like, after Ohio State missed that field goal, there was no doubt in my mind that we were going to crush TCU. I just had to be politically correct occasionally, just to like make sure that there's a little bit of drama there. I was like, okay, I can't set this up to be a boring game. Which in the back of my mind, I was like, this could be a blowout pretty quickly. But I had to, Max Duggan, that Quentin Johnson, it sounds good. They haven't seen a defense quite like this ever. And you could tell they were shell shocked.
Yeah. And speaking of this defense, man, Alan Green is finally making a comeback, baby.
Yeah, your boy, man. You've been on him since day one.
Look, that's been my guy since day one. Okay. All right. Now I love them all. I love each and every one of them, just like their little brother and their play cousin. But something about Alan Green, man. I've been waiting on him to break out that shell. And,
well, he's
right now
about
he's
to.
doing it. I mean, you got Stark back there. I mean, you got Taki Smith back there. You got Buller back there. I mean, Kamari Laster's on the other side, just knocking the hell out of people. I mean, our secondary. This is the first time in a long time, I think, that I feel since Dominic Sanders and Baker and that crew were there, that I feel like this group
count those guys.
We don't have to worry about this group.
No, I think all the communication issues we saw last year, I think are going to be mostly gone.
Yes, because
with explosive offenses, and with explosive offenses, you're going to see some. But it got to the point,
very hard to do, especially if people don't know where they're going.
Yeah, and it got to the point where last year it even confused Keely Ringo at times. Like you could see Keely Ringo like, what in the hell? Yeah,
and he's just a corner.
Yeah, and he's going to be a first rounder, like a mid-first rounder.
Yeah, he's not a safety coming down. Like, he's the corner. Ask what coverage we in.
Yeah, at the snap of the ball, he's looking over like, what the heck are we doing here?
But and like I said, even going back again from my visit up there, I mean, just the communication aspect on that part. Of course, you got, Kirby Smart calling, screaming at everybody, because what happens when your head coach is the defensive guy. And he pretty much had the record at UVA for interceptions for a very, very long time. So he knows that back end really, really, really good. But, when it all matches up together, and, from what I saw with, Coach Muschamp and Coach Schumann and those guys are doing a phenomenal job of making sure everything matches up to what they want to do. And I think last year with so many new faces and so many new places, it kind of threw it off just a little bit. But with this year, I mean, you're only missing a couple of pieces. You hate that Nolan Smith got hurt, but with him being hurt, it threw another young guy in that spot, and that young guy's coming back. You know what I mean? So,
and it actually threw a rotation of guys. Yeah,
those guys are all here. Those guys are thrown in the fire so early that it takes just one guy. You never replacing Keely Ringo is really who you're replacing.
And Nyland Green is not because Kamari Lassiter's back, and now he is the guy. He is the premier piece of that secondary. You get Nyland Green coming in. You also welcome to Lasterville.
Yes, you got to copyright those two. Kamari Allen, Lasterville.
Kamari Allen. Yeah,
you heard them here first.
You heard it here first. Let's see. Man, I think the secondary is. God, I'm so excited about the secondary, but I'm even more excited about the Hogs up front, playing up front and getting the pressure. So Nazir Stackhouse, Bear Alexander, Zion Logue, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, and even Christian Miller. Even Christian Miller's coming along. He's having himself a good spring. And then the young freshman Jordan Hall, Jamal Jarrett, they're going to be good players, but they're just right now they just need to get in shape, and their heads are spinning, which early enrollees, it's not surprising.
Absolutely. You got Stackhouse coming in, who's baby Jordan Davis. I saw him retrace from hash to hash in one of the highlight videos that, Kirby does before practice, highlight good plays, effort plays. He retraced from hash to hash, Bear Alexander, just being a force in the middle.
So
one thing about
it
that made us very successful is the fact that linemen weren't able to get up on our linebackers. So, having those guys up front is going to really, really help a young, what they would say, a young linebacking core coming into this year.
What makes it good is the movement we do also, I think. And,
there's no double team. No true double team.
No, and that's the best thing you can do to help not only young linemen, but young linebackers too. You just get them moving. So the more they move, the less they think, and the more they just react and go.
Absolutely. There's a method to the madness. You see these defensive guys, and, I love Coach Grantham. That's my guy through and through. He's got the play sheet for defense, he's calling plays like that, but there's something that comes into, all right, this is what we're going to line up in. We're going to disguise a little bit, make it look good to you, and then we're going to come knock the hell out of you. That's what we're going to do. It looks different to you, but to us, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? So, keep it simple, stupid, kiss, and that's one thing on defense I think they're doing. Our man coverage is our man coverage. We can play anybody man. Even when we played Ohio State, when we were in man coverage, they weren't very good. It's when we got to zone, which you need to be able to play zone. You need to be able to play man, within a game. When we got in trouble, but, being able to play zone.
The biggest plays we got in trouble were. Yeah, the biggest things we got in trouble with was, when they beat zone is when C.J. Stroud broke pocket and had extra time. We'd run by him, or he had escaped because C.J. Stroud's going to be the top quarterback taken in the NFL draft for good reason. But again, and some of that's going to happen because you're going to face some good quarterbacks that can move a little bit and buy time and create things. But for the most part, Javon Bullard, dude, that hit he put on Marvin Harrison, which was clean, by the way, was still legal to this day, and will be legal for till the end of time, because even after review, you can review it as many times as you want to. Ryan Day, it's still a legal hit. It's a hard hit, but Israel, in this game of football, this is what I heard. Okay, this is a rumor, but in this game of football, allegedly, you're allowed to hit
people.
You're allowed to hit. You're allowed to
go for the ball.
You're allowed to go for the ball. You're allowed to run through their torso. He ran through his shoulder It was shoulder to shoulder.
Ran right through it. And that's a big old youngin now. Martin Harrison is not small. He is not his father's stature by any means. No. He is a large human being. More so like Rosemary Jack-Saint, who, by the way, I say once again, our receiving core.
Oh, yeah.
Even little McConkey, he looks small. That little joker is big. Let me tell you. Meeks is probably the prettiest human being that I've seen at receiver in a very, very long time. I mean, to be as big as he is, to move the way that he does. He's like everybody goes like Marlon Brown. Marlon Brown was the biggest receiver we had at the time, right? 6'5", over like 200 pounds. Meeks makes Marlon look small.
That's that Sinclair program.
And, and Coach Sinclair in that group, I mean, just to see receivers look like that, shows
and
how far.
Move the way they move.
Yes, and to not be injury free for the most part. Knock on wood.
Yeah, you better knock on some wood there.
Seeing Arian Smith run, I mean, God dog. I mean, just those guys. And if you thought that there was a drop off at receiver, there's not. We had two good ones come in. Like I said, the guy from Missouri is going to be really, really good for us once he learns what to do. Ra-Ra's still, learning, getting his feet wet in kind of the Georgia way. Which is really good.
Ra-Ra's going to have some work to do to make up some ground because, I think Ra-Ra. I mean, Dominic Lovett it plays a certain role, so I think he's going to be. Yes. I think he's going to be able to fit in a little bit. Yeah, but like Ra-Ra comes into a position that's Rosemary Jackson, Arian Smith, even Lad McConkey, Jackson Meeks, Dylan Bell, Denial and Morset. Like he's coming into a group that's pretty well established, and Mr.
Bell is going to be really good too. By the way,
I mean he was really good last year. Yeah, he's Dylan Bell is Brookwood, right? Or is that Morset? I get them all confused sometimes.
They all right beside each other.
Yeah, that's right. It ain't like South Georgia where they're all spread out. You guys are all spread out down there.
Don't you go here? No, man. I was over here 30 minutes down the road.
Shoot, and Gwinnett, it's like 10 minutes down the road. Well,
yeah,
with no traffic, but like 30 minutes because everyone lives in Gwinnett County. That's one place I'll never move to is Gwinnett County. You can have that. Yeah. That like you want to talk about Atlanta traffic, like it reaches out to Gwinnett and Cobb, like Marietta. Marietta. You can have that. You can have all of that.
Well, that's like being in Athens now. Athens has grown so much as far as just the university itself. Get from point A to point B, just on Lumpkin Street takes like 20 minutes. To get from the Butts to downtown was 20 minutes. I was like, oh my God, this is never taking this long.
You're better off just walking Athens, at that point.
Yeah, man, Athens is growing. It's grown just like our offensive linemen, who BT dubs are huge, by the way.
Yeah.
Mr. Mims is probably one of the largest men I've ever seen in my whole entire life.
Well, he's having a complete. Yeah, Cordy Glenn was
Justin Anderson, Vince Vance. Clint Bowling. To me, those were big guys. But when you're looking at 6'8", 300-something pounds that can move like he's 6'6", 200 pounds,
yeah, that's just pretty bad. He's probably in locker room wars. He's probably winning.
Yes, Coach Searle said he can pretty much play any position across the offensive line if you need him to. Yeah. And he said once he realized what he can do, and realizes how good he can be, he's going to be unstoppable. And I completely believe that.
He's going to be an all-pro. All-American.
Actually,
all-pro.
All of them. Tate, right? Tate's.
If he could just continue to get healthy, which you have an injury like his, it takes a while, but hopefully in real live gameplay, he'll be just as dominant as he was. I'm excited about Tate. I'm excited about Van Pran. I'm glad he came back. That guy's going to make a lot of money coming back.
You talk about
Mims,
command of an offensive line, command of the offense. That young man, he definitely has it. If he wasn't coming from the quarterback position,
well, somebody's got to get him in protections.
He reminds me of Bubba Velasco so much as far as just taking over.
Where did Velasco play? Did he play center in college?
He played center when I was there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he played. I think he moved to guard when he came to the NFL. I think he moved over.
Yeah,
I know he played guard for the Titans for a minute.
Did a really good job with Stafford. Stafford started as a freshman. And then that sophomore year we made that run. Bubba was the center, and he was just great.
There wasn't a whole lot of protection breakdowns.
Yeah, you got Ben Jones comes in, 4-year starter. David Andrews comes in. The center position for us has been really, really good. And that is not a drop off at all because Van Pran is definitely that guy.
You had Russ Tanner before that.
Yes.
Russ Tanner was the guy when I came in as a freshman. He was the one that led the way of that first SEC championship in 2002. He was really good. And then, Bubba Velasco took that next generation over. And then you go from Velasco to Jones to Andrews, just a run of really good centers after that.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys, there's not a whole lot of protection breakdowns.
Yeah, those guys are NFL caliber guys. And so, if you're a center and you want to go to the NFL, Georgia, man, we'll put them in there.
Come to Georgia, yeah. And you're about to see what the Todd Monken offense can do for a guy like Odell Beckham.
Yes, and which, by the way, I think they might get Lamar back now that Beckham's there.
You know who's a good backup for Lamar?
Stetson Bennett, baby. Stetson
Bennett, whose reputation is not ruined, despite his own beliefs. Did you see that? The body cam footage. You're like, oh God, yeah, we've all been there. He was drunk and annoyed. He was aggravated a little bit.
Yeah, we've all been there, and anybody who says that they haven't has never been.
They're full of what
outside. Everybody had a life before they decided to give their life to Jesus. That's what they want to claim. But it's one of those deals to where you live, you learn, and it's one of those things where I'm glad he's learned, and you learn from it. You just keep it moving.
Yeah, it came out. I was like, "Oh, this can't be good." And then you listen to it, you're like, "It's not good." And then you start laughing. You're like, "God, I've heard that every single night I went out in Athens. I heard someone doing that routine." Yes,
and once or twice it might have been me.
Probably so. I've probably done it too. I think I did it to a cabbie one time. Like I just handed in my money because back then you could get a cab for $5 anywhere you wanted to go. And I was, they had to say 3 sheets to the wind. I was like 6. I was like 6 sheets to the wind. I was coming out of All Good. Home. Did you ever go to All Good?
I did.
Yeah,
they're all different.
Like me. Yeah, I don't know what it is now, but it was All Good. Love that place. And you've probably been to all the like me. I go everywhere. Like I've been everywhere.
All Good is still standing. It is. Okay. That's one of the ones that's still there.
All right. Yeah.
In its original spot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite places. And so I'm 6 sheets to the wind coming out of there. I get in a cab. And I'm like mumbling, hey, take me to that polo club, or you know how that goes. And so I hand the cab driver my money, and then right as I hand him my money, he still has it in his hand. He hasn't really drawn it back. My friends come to the door. I haven't shut the door yet. They're like, Corey, come on, get out of the cab. Let's go. We're taking you home. I was like, okay. So I reached over and snatched my money back, got out. And said, see you.
So you were that guy.
I was that guy. And yeah, that was a fun night. I did this thing called a rum bucket. Yeah, it was a rum bucket.
They don't even do those anymore.
I did that before I went out. So I made it myself. It's homemade.
So you just basically sabotaged yourself.
I did. Absolutely, I did. And it's a group activity.
It's a group activity.
It's a group activity. You get this giant bowl, and you just fill it with rum and root beer, and you just go to
40 hands.
Yeah, you just go to work, man. It's like and sometimes you have races. It's like you pair up with somebody and you race. You know, you can have you have a little personal bucket. Sometimes there's all kind of ways to do it, but and then you get done with it, and you're like, well, that sucked.
All right.
And then like an hour later, you're like, it hits you like Mike Tyson with a right cross, pound you. So you know what? Since we've been away for a little while, we're going to go a little into overtime.
Because those were some of the most fun times, especially when people don't get in trouble, make it home safely. Springtime in Athens is a great time.
Mm-hmm. It is. This was a springtime activity, actually. Now that you say that, it was a springtime activity, maybe a late spring activity. Yeah, the semester was winding down. Yeah, well, not quite that late, but I think it was like about this time of year, like right after Masters.
After G Day, you couldn't tell us nothing.
Yeah,
after G Day. Over with.
Yeah, you could tell. You could tell. It's Flanagan's. It's the entire football team in Flanagan's. You're like, okay, springtime, spring practice must be over now.
A pool party, because think about it. After spring practice, you really only have like 2 weeks left of school.
Mm-hmm. Pool party at what is it?
We were at the station, but then we would move it to the Woodlands.
Woodlands, that's right. Woodlands. That was a very, very popular pool.
I lived at the Woodlands. I lived right next to the pool.
Yeah, I had some nights at the Woodlands too. I lived at Polo Club for a minute. I lived in Riverbend. I lived in.
It was just so hard to get into Polo Club.
I moved into a room. I had some friends already there, and one of their friends was moving out, so I just replaced him.
Okay, there you go. Those were good times.
Oh, good God.
But now we're in the era of cameras. Can't do that stuff no more.
Yeah, no. Thank God there's no camera. Like I would, I probably would be a lot more reserved if there was camera phones, but that would would have not been good for me at all. At all. You could probably Google me at that time, but luckily you can't.
From two alumni, have fun and enjoy it. Anybody who is listening to this podcast, if you went to UGA, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. You've probably lived this entire. Yeah, have fun.
Best time of your life, man. But be smart.
Be smart.
This thing called Uber. What is it? Uber, Lyft, all those things to where you don't have to drive.
Yeah, I do not drive drunk.
Have fun, man, and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody tells you any different, tell them you got 2 rings. Actually, you have 1, 2. You're about to have 3.
Spoiled.
1 national, 1 SEC, and
this group is spoiled, 4. Israel.
I think you get 1 for in the East, 1 for in the SEC, 1 for making the final, and 1 for winning it.
Yeah, you get a semifinal ring. Yeah. No, 2 last year because we won the Orange Bowl. You get an Orange Bowl ring, a semifinal ring, and you get a Natty ring, and you get an East ring. We won the East. So last year they got 3.
Yeah, I hear like Michael Jordan.
I know. Yeah, they're spoiled, man. And so with all the money that you save from your Uber and not having to pay lawyer fees, you can buy a Row One brand vintage art watch. Dogs 20 promo code. Yeah, you can do that. You can go downtown rocking your vintage art watch. Now you want to talk about a piece of art on your wrist that will make you much, much cooler than you actually are. That's what I need. I can be cooler than I actually am with that vintage piece of art on my wrist. Get yours, Dogs 20, row1brand.com, please. Please, please, please order one. You won't regret it. I promise you. You won't regret it. So, but yeah, so we've gone a little bit of overtime. It's just because we hadn't seen you guys in a while. So we wanted to give you a little bit of extra here, but, what to expect here over the next couple of weeks now that we're kind of both back in the groove. You'll start to see more of us more frequently. Summertime hopefully we'll have some guests on. We'll do some previews, scouting opponents, things like that. I'm looking to try to get Christian back for round 2. Maybe hopefully post G-Day, but this week we'll get you ready for G-Day. Probably we'll probably air it Friday and on into the weekend, and then we'll do a recap for G-Day. And then we'll roll on with our summer schedule. We'll try to line up some guests, and we'll just have some fun as we go.
Absolutely.
Maybe talk some XFL, some NBA, MLB. Just go some off-topic stuff. Tell some stories. I always like me some Israel troop story time. That's always good.
I tell the easy version of those stories because there's a time to be alive in Athens, Georgia.
Yep, it was.
It's also stories to help our young people. It's okay to have fun, but you got to be smart.
Yeah, you got to be really smart. Yeah, like snatching money from a cab driver's hand. That's smart. Brilliant.
You'd got canceled.
I would have got eliminated and canceled.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely don't want to do that. So. But we are the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network, presented by Betonline.ag and the Row One brand. Remember, buy those vintage watches. Up your game, Dogs 20. So we're going to come back at you here Thursday or Friday, sometime later in this week. We'll preview G-Day. We'll get you ready and let you know who to watch for, what matchups to watch for, things like that. Storylines heading into the big G-Day game Saturday. I think it's at 3:00 ESPN. So check it out. If you're not in Athens, that's where you can watch it. And then we'll have more and more great content as we go. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification. It'll alert you for new shows. Follow us, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Trying to get to 1,000. Once we get to 1,000, YouTube will start paying us for our views. We had 17,000 views in the month of March. So you're watching. Thank you.
Close.
So close. Be a friend, tell a friend. All right. Again, Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast awesome. On the Believe Network. What's that?
We're pretty awesome. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is pretty awesome. That guy right there. Guy right there.
Just a regular
killing thunder chickens on the daily. Shoot. He got 2 birdies and he got 2 big birdies in one day. One on the 6th hole and then another with his rifle.
That is very true. I did get a birdie on the 6th hole. That is a very true story.
Very true. Very true.
Play a lot of golf.
You did. You played a lot of golf, shot at a lot of birds, chased your kids around, and you had a really productive spring break, actually.
Yeah, dad life.
Not bad for yourself. So, that being said, we are the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network, presented by Betonline.ag and the Row One brand. For Israel, I'm Corey. We'll catch you back here next time, but until then, as always, you already know the deal. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Do you believe?